Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to discuss very important topic, that is power sharing. It is in NCRT class 10th. So we're going to start this chapter, okay? So before we start this chapter, let's discuss about some basics. So friends, power sharing is very important because uh, it reduces conflict. In any country, there are people of different groups and communities live in particular. Could be people of different religion, it could be people of different languages, religion, cultures. So the differences between the communities is bound to happen. So it is important that power should be properly and equitably shared. Okay, so this is why power sharing is important, because each and every community should feel that it is their own country. uh, so there should not be any kind of discriminatory policy against any community. Okay, and power should also be distributed in a way among the different organs of the government, that is legislative, executive, and judiciary, in a way that no particular organ tries to, you can say, abuses its power, authority. For instance, uh, in many countries it has been seen that executive has become more powerful than uh, leg- other organs like legislative and so let's try to analyze today's chapter. So why it is important to power sharing? It ensures stability in political control. It promotes unity with diversity. It makes democracy much more participative. So today we are going to discuss examples of two countries, friends. So we are going to discuss examples of Belgium and Sri Lanka. We'll try to analyze how power sharing in Belgium is cause of conflict, or you can say has tried to, you can say, reduces the conflict when corrective steps has been taken by the government and by the authorities. Okay, so let's first try to analyze the story of Belgium. Okay, friends. So before we analyze about story about Belgium, let's try to understand the demography of Belgium. So Belgium, friends, as you all know, Belgium is a European country, and in 1960s, the demography of Belgium was such. For instance, in 1960s and 70s, almost, you can say, 59% of population of Belgium were Dutch-speaking people. That means they were in majority. Okay, so 59%, almost, you can say, 60% of population of Belgium were, can say, Dutch speaking people. On the other hand, there were other communities also, French speaking people. They were in minorities. Okay, they were in minorities. But what happened, that most of the power and positions, you can say, in the government authorities and in the economic power was, you know can say, holden by people who were speaking French. Okay, so most of the economic power was, you can say, it was holded by people who were French speaking people. So there was so much anomalies in power distribution, and this led to a lot of conflict. This led to a lot of protest. People who were in majority, for instance, Dutch-speaking people, they were majority, and they felt that they are being cheated. Despite of being in majority, they are not being adequately represented in different legislative bodies. So they demanded, they started protesting for their rights, and this led to, several peaceful protests. It was not a very kind of violent kind of protest. And after several steps of deliberation, both communities, they sat together, and government also tried to, you can say, they tried to resolve the issue amicably. Both communities, they sat down and they decided that they will resolve this in an amicable way. And due to this, several reformative measures, or you can say several amendments, were made in the constitution, in the administration, so that, you can say, policies are much more accommodative for other communities as well, whether it is French speaking, whether it is Dutch speaking. So what happened, since What was the anomalies? Anomalies was, French speaking people had much more influence in the positions of economic power and in the government power. So this was the biggest anomaly. So it was, how did they resolve this issue? How did they resolve this issue? They resolved that by making certain amendments in the constitution. For instance, it was decided that any kind of laws which will be passed, there has to be consent of the both communities. So first step was that there were some legislative measures. You can say any legislative measures has to be consented by both communities, whether it is Dutch speaking people and whether it is French speaking. Okay, friends. So this was the first corrective steps, you can say amendments, which was taken by uh, the authorities of, you can say, Belgium. Second step was that representation. So efforts were made that in the central government there will be equal representation of both communities, whether it is Dutch speaking people and whether it is French speaking. So it was decided that it will have, both communities will have equal representation in the central government, and whatever laws will be made from now onwards will has to be consented by people from both communities. So this was second corrective steps which was taken. Okay, okay, friends. Now what happened? Uh, Other step, if we talk about now, another important step was capital of Brussels, which was mainly dominated by French-speaking people. They were, they were dominant in, even in capital of Belgium, that is Brussels. So it was decided that even in the uh, Brussels, that is capital of, you can say, Belgium, it will be, there will be equal representation of both communities. So this was also one important amendment were made. The, you can say, uh, the administration in the you can say constitution. So another step which was taken, there was formation of community government. Okay, there was formation of community government. So sorry, community ministry. So what was the role of this community ministry? It was a kind of department which, so what kind of mandate was given to this department? It was decided that uh, this department will look into affairs of cultures, languages, etc. Okay, so that people of both communities, whether it is Dutch speaking community or whether it is French speaking, both communities should feel that they are, you can say, so that their grievances related to cultures, related to languages are being taken care of. Okay, so this was another important step which was taken by, you can say, Belgium. So this is how we saw that how Belgium took much more corrective steps in the, you can say, in its administration by adopting much more accommodative policies in the power sharing. So we are discussing about power sharing. So it decided that power should be equitably shared between both communities, and so in this way, there was long peace and stability in Belgium due to corrective measures taken by Belgium. So now let's discuss about what about Sri Lanka. So friends, now we have discussed about one successful story of power sharing Belgium. So now let's discuss about Sri Lanka. As you all know that Sri Lanka is our neighboring country, and almost more than 74% of Sri Lanka consisted of Sinhalese speaking people. They were, you can say, Buddhist in origin. They are native people of Sri Lanka. And on the other hand, 18% of population of Sri Lanka was Tamilians. And among this 18%, you can say 5% of the population was 5% of population was, you can say, people who were uh, in from Tamils who were from Indian origin. Okay, so among this 18% Tamil population, you can say 5% of the population were from, you can say, who were from Indian origin. Okay, so this is how, so there used to be a lot of conflict. Okay, so in here you can say in Sri Lanka Sinhalese people are in majority. On the other hand, people of Tamils, they were in minority. But what happened in Sri Lanka? The government took discriminatory steps. What did the government did? It took a very discriminatory measures. I'm writing here. It took discriminatory. Okay. So what did the government of Sri Lanka did? It took several discriminatory steps. For instance, in 1956, was the government of Sri Lanka decided that it will declare Sinhalese as official language. Sinhalese is a language which was spoken by Lankan majority of population in Sri Lanka, which was you can say Sinhalese. Okay, so majoritarian. So they declared Sinhalese population as official language of Sri Lanka. Okay, so this led to a lot of dissatisfaction and you can say distrust among the people from Tamil origin. They felt marginalized. Okay, so they felt marginalized. Apart from this, there were several measures taken by Sri Lankan government. For instance, you can say in the discrimination in the government jobs and multiple government you can say education and different in you can say jobs, etc. So this led to a lot of conflict. This led to a lot of conflict among these two communities, that is Sinhalese as well as Tamils. And there was several decades of you can say several decades of civil war in Sri Lanka. So, okay, several decades. In 2010, the civil war has you can say more or less it has stopped, but still we keep on hearing about hostilities between the two communities, the news. So, so what we have learned from the stories about Sri Lanka and Belgium, we have learned that in Belgium, the government and the both communities they sat together, and such arrangements were made in the power sharing positions that both that that lead to much more long standing peace and stability in society, and the country progressed in Belgium. Okay, on the other hand, what we saw in Sri Lanka we saw that several discriminatory policies were made by the government of Sri Lanka, and this led to several years of conflict, civil unrest, and you can say civil wars between the two communities, and so it impacted long term peace that particular. Okay, so this is how we saw two contrasting stories of the two countries. Okay. So now let's move on. Now, if we discuss about India, now if we discuss about India, so as you all know, India is also a multi-diverse and multicultural, multi-diverse country. There are so many religions, there are so many, you can say, languages, cultures, ethnicity in our country, and so uh, you can say since independence, since independence, since independence, the story of India was also not a very easy one. But India adopted, you can say, correct policies. Okay. India never adopted any kind of discriminatory policies of the state. Okay. For instance, I give you one example. In 1953, there was protest in Andhra Pradesh about it was a linguistic kind of protest. So the government decided that it will carve out a state on the basis of languages by listening to the grievances of the people of the particular state, of that particular communities or that particular you can say state, by adopting accommodative policy in you can say power sharing, and more autonomy was given to Andhra Pradesh. It was separated from Tamil Nadu. So by making some necessary adjustment in the power sharing structure, India adopted corrective policies, and so we have avoided conflict to a significant extent. Okay, to a significant extent, we have adopted, you can say prevented the conflict. Okay, so if we discuss about other policies of the government, for instance, Indian government has adopted a policy of affirmative action. What is affirmative action? Affirmative action is there are people of different communities. For instance, there are marginalized communities like other backward caste, scheduled caste, and scheduled tribes. So in 1992, somewhere the government of India decided that all OBCs who consisted of more than 40% of population, they decided that they will make uh, necessary adjustment in the power sharing, whether it is in government jobs and in educational institutions. So in 1992, what happened? Uh, the Mandal Commission was implemented. Mandal Commission was implemented, and what is this Mandal Commission recommendation? It was decided that people from other backward caste, they who can say, so they will be provided reservations in the government jobs, in the government jobs, whether it is central or state. It was mandatory. Okay, not only in government jobs but also in educational institutions. Okay, so this was a very transformative steps. It empowered many marginalized communities. So we have made necessary adjustment in power sharing, which empowered the people of marginalized sections. So, so we saw how we have, how you can say, taking corrective steps in power sharing, we have avoided conflict to a significant extent. So Indian government, so this is also one of the important steps which has been taken by the Indian government. So let's discuss about some other steps. So one other important step was in 1992 there was a step taken as 73rd and 74th Amendment Act, which was 73rd and 74th Amendment Act. So what is this Amendment Act, 73rd and 74th Amendment Act? So with this Amendment Act, it was decided that Panchayati Raj bodies and municipalities, that is the local bodies of, can say, they were they were empowered, they were given constitutional status. So by this way, we have also, you can say, we have made necessary transformation in power sharing structure. Okay, so it's not only top down approach. So we have decided that we will also, you can say, we will also empower the bottom bottom of the pyramid, that is our panchayats and our municipalities. So people, so that people living in the villages and living in small towns and cities, they also feel marginalized. And so what does this amendment, what does it mandate? It mandate compulsory conduction of election every 5 years. Okay, so with every 5 years elections, it was, you can say, people of, you can say people, it was decided that people will choose their own destiny. They will decide their what kind of plans do they want of their own particular village or of their own particular cities. Okay, so this way we saw that with these corrective steps taken by the government of India. So now let's discuss about power sharing, different forms of power sharing. Okay, so number one is power sharing among the different organs of the government. So what is different organs of the government? It is legislature, executive, and judiciary, just like we have in India. So in India, we have three organs of government, that is legislative, executive, and judiciary. Okay. So it's important that power should not be shared by, you can say, excessive power should not be in control of any one particular organ. For instance, not be in, you can say, executive should not be powerful, or legislative should also be not powerful. So there has to be some checks and balances. So for instance, you can say, judiciary has been empowered to check whether any kind of legislative actions or executive action, whether they are constitutionally valid or not. Okay, so judiciary has been empowered to, you can say, uh, to oversee whether any action of the government or any action of, you can say, uh, other organs of the government, whether they are as per constitution or not. Okay, so this was number one step. So this is first different, or you can say this is a first type of power sharing that we are discussing. So another important is different levels of government, that is union government, state government, and local government. Okay, so this is also important. Okay, we have a three tier, you can say, administrative structure. At the central level we have union government. At the state level, have a state government, and it is autonomous. It has its own powers and authorities, which center will not at all interfere, except for exceptional cases. Okay, so constitutional arrangement has been made to empower states. Okay, in terms of finances, in terms of powers. Okay, and as I've already discussed, that at the level of panchayati raj also, panchayats has also been empowered the local level. Okay, so this is how we saw that. Can say this is the second level that we were discussing about. Okay, so it's also important that power should be shared among the different social groups also. Okay, what are the different social group? It is religious group, it is linguistic groups. So power should also be shared, you can say, among the different groups also. Okay, so now let's discuss about among different political parties. For instance, in India we have two major dominant political party coalitions. Okay, for instance, we have NDA. NDA is a coalition of government which, we can say, which revolves around BJP. Okay. On the other hand, UPA is a coalition of government which revolves around Congress. Okay, so there are many small regional parties. They try to align with these two political parties to check power. Okay, so if anything which government does wrong, so it is a coalition alliance which keep on questioning in the parliament, in the streets. So in this way also we can, you can say, power sharing. In this way of power sharing, we can check any kind of authoritative or any kind of, you can say, not only authoritative, any you can say there could be much more accountability in the government. Okay, so so in this way we have discussed how power sharing is important. So and you can say important for not only for peace and stability, it's also for, you can say, important for economic progress, because participation of each and every community is very important if, you can say, if the country has to progress, and no particular community should be felt that they have been left out. So fruits of the development should be shared by all communities. So in India you can see federal division of powers. In Belgium there is a linguistic division of power. Okay, so in Belgium we saw there is a linguistic division of power. Okay, in USA there is a checks and balances. Okay, there is checks and balances. And in Switzerland there is a linguistic and cultural representation. So thank you guys, thank you very much for today's lecture.